Folks, Congress has just confirmed that some Americans can receive a check up to $1,800 next month. This is great news for all of us, everybody. There's a ton of news that I want you to know about the fourth stimulus check, so be sure to stay until the end of this video to find out the latest news about the fourth stimulus payments.
Mr. Secretary, spinning forward to the next bit of legislation, the larger social safety net bill. The House version of that legislation includes paid family leave. The Senate has indicated it will be stripped out. They didn't make the President's framework a couple of weeks ago. You just came off some family leave. I was hoping you can talk to you about the benefits of that, and then number one, and then number two, given your experience, do you think that it should be a red line for the President to keep that in there so that all Americans have access to that benefit?
Well, the President put forward a framework that he's confident can pass the House and the Senate. I think it's also no secret how I feel about family leave and how the President does, which is why he proposed it, I think campaigned on it, and will continue to fight for it. And the importance of it is that it's not, it's talked about as time off. It's time to do work. Good work, joyful work, meaningful work, but it's time to do important work. But let me also say, as a new parent, thinking about the difference that will be made by what's in the framework, the universal access to 3- and 4-year-old preschool, making childcare affordable for families across the spectrum.
Turning to reconciliation, does President Biden believe Congress should wait for a CBO score to vote on it or not?
Well, here's the thing. As you know, Weijia, and I talked about this probably on Thursday, probably on Friday, I can't remember now. As you know, we put forward our score. We put forward through the Treasury. There was a Treasury blog. There was also the JCT that put out a number as well, which was the kind of the first part before the CBO puts out their number. And we said that there's more. It's going to be more than paid for. I believe our number was 2.1 trillion. And so we are confident that this is going to be paid for. We are confident that it will add $0 to the deficit. Moody's has said this as well, and other economists have said this, and so we're going to continue to move forward, and that's why we wanted to be transparent, which is why we worked across agencies, across the administration, to make sure that we put out a number to show that it could be raised.
Automobiles to electronics, from shoes to furniture. Ending the pandemic is the ultimate key to unlocking the disruptions we're all contending with. But we have to take action now, together with our partners in the private sector, to reduce the backlogs that we're facing. And then we have to prevent this from happening again in the future. Now that we have seen how vulnerable these lines of global commerce can be, we cannot go back to business as usual. This pandemic won't be the last global health crisis we face. We also need to increase our resilience in the face of climate change, natural disasters, and even planned attacks. Many of our supply chains are almost entirely owned and operated by the private sector. But government can play a key role identifying supply chain risks and bringing the different pieces and actors together to address these vulnerabilities. In the United States, my administration is focused on this from our earliest days of the administration, which is not that long ago, just January 20th of this year. In February, we began directing new investments to strengthen supply chains at home and to work with partners to bolster supply chains around the world. Last month, we launched an early warning system to help get ahead of the global supply chain disruptions for computer chips, which impacts so many of industries in my country and all of yours. Just a few weeks ago, we were able to facilitate an agreement with key unions, retailers, and freight movers to begin operating 2 of the largest ports in the United States that account for 40% of the imports on the West Coast.
So some families who have not yet signed up for the monthly advanced child tax credit payment still have a chance to get all the money that they were due this year. It's up to $1,800 per child in time for the holidays. But there is a deadline coming up that they can't miss. Many families got the monthly child tax credit payments automatically, since it was based on their 2020 tax returns. But some families, mostly those with low incomes, were not required to file taxes and may have not received the money yet. The deadline is Monday, November 15th for eligible people who haven't received the payments to sign up at irs.gov. If they sign up by then, the IRS said families should receive the entire amount that they were due for 2021 in one lump sum payment on December 15th. That's around $1,800 for each child under age 6 and $1,500 for each child ages 6 to 17. The other rest will come after tax filing season next year, just as it will for all eligible people. The IRS reminds families that they cannot get the benefits even if they don't have a job or if they don't receive an income. November 15th is also the date the next child monthly tax credit will be sent out, and November 1st was the deadline to change the income, banking or address information for that payment. The final payment for 2021 will be on December 15th, with the deadline of November 29th to make changes for that installment. Whether the monthly child tax credit continues into 2022 depends on Congress. It's still in the Build Back Better reconciliation bill, but that bill stalled in negotiations. And now the IRS also recently issued hundreds of thousands of more refunds to the tune of more than $500 million. These were the latest rounds of refunds made possible by the American Rescue Plan signed in March. But the bill also forgave taxes on the first $10,200 in unemployment funds that taxpayers received in 2020. It applied to individuals and married couples whose income was less than $150,000. So while the exclusion was accounted for people who filed their taxes after the bill was passed, millions had already sent in their 2020 taxes beforehand. The IRS had to calculate how much that latter group of people would get back. The agency started with the simplest returns, with the first payments having gone out in May, and worked its way back to the more complicated ones. This latest round of refunds, $430,000 to be exact, announced on Monday was for $510 million. And the IRS plans to send out another batch of payments before the end of the year. Taxpayers who are due a refund typically will get a letter from the IRS within 30 days of the adjustment, and if the money would come in the form of refund, or would be applied to any outstanding IRS debt. The agency said it is looking to correct earned income tax credits, additional child tax credits, and the premium tax credit. All these amounts that may have been affected by the unemployment exclusion. And as of October 23rd, the IRS still had 9 million returns to process. The agency said it's having to correct significantly with more errors than in the previous years, and on returns that require correction, it could take up to 4 months to get a refund. The IRS added that they've processed all error returns that were received before April 2021. If you're still waiting on a 2020 tax return, you can check the status online at Where's My Refund, or you can view your account online. The IRS said if you filed electronically and received an acknowledgement, you don't need to take any further action other than promptly responding to any requests for information. So again, folks, thank you so much for your support. I truly appreciate it. If you have any more questions about the fourth stimulus check, then leave them in the comments below.